Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you live. We are so excited to have you guys here for our second Q&A. Thank you so much for being here. A couple of things I want to talk about before we get started. First, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box. So my name is Becky Adams. I am the director of the Center for Global Engagement. So I'm in charge of international education here at Snow College, and I am joined by my two colleagues, Deanna, who is the head of our student support services, and Noboe, who is our admissions specialist. And so they are going to be manning the chat box. So if you have questions, put it in there. We do have a Spanish speaker and a Japanese speaker. So if you need to write in your native language, they may be able to help with that. But we're going to try and go through and get everything talked about and then leave some time open for questions specifically. The second thing I wanted to make sure you know is we are recording this. So we will be sending this out in the future we will be sending this out to anyone who isn't able to attend. So if you have someone that isn't able to be here, just tell them to check with their email because we're going to send the recordings out and we will also have them available on our website. We're in the process of creating like a YouTube playlist that will have all of our different Q&As. So, and then finally, we will continue to do this throughout the summer. So if you missed last week, where we talked about logging into the college systems and accessing the my.snow.edu portal, that recording will be available shortly on our website, the snow.edu/international, as well as we will be sending them out via email. So watch for those to come. We want this to be someplace you can find answers, and we just want to keep hosting these so that as students, we know you have a lot of questions coming in. And so we want to try and tackle that and answer those as much as possible. So I am going to be talking today, you get to hear my lovely voice, and I'm going to be talking specifically about something called FERPA, or privacy in the United States, what that means for international students, and then also emergency circumstances. So I can see some of you have your hands up. If you could put a comment in the chat, then they can answer that. And then at the end, if we need to, we can come back and look at that. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, can everyone see that? Excellent. So I love this picture. If you were with us last week, you can see, you saw this same thing, which is, that is our main administration building. In case you didn't know, or as a quick reminder, Snow College was established in 1888, and this building, called the Noyes Building, it's spelled like no yes, was one of the first buildings built on campus, and it's been renovated a couple of times, but it is a beautiful building. That's where our administration is. So our president's office is there, as well as our math classes, a math lab. So it is still being used today, and it's one of my favorite buildings on campus. So let's move on. Okay, so the big question we always have to answer for students and for parents is, what is FERPA? Okay, I'm going to talk about, admit people as they come in. I'm going to talk about that. So FERPA stands for the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. It was started in 1974, and the entire purpose was to give families or parents and those who are over the age of 18 privacy regarding what can and cannot be shared for their educational record. Okay, so at Snow College, this law allows students at post-secondary schools to have 3 very specific things. I'm going to talk about this a little more, but to inspect and look at your educational records, to have them adjusted or amended, if there's a problem, to have control over what information is shared. And then if we're not following the rules of that, for you to file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education. So Snow College works really hard to find a balance in keeping your information confidential. So we want to protect your privacy while you're getting your degree. We want to make sure we're protecting all of our students and the community that we live in. And we have to follow the rules that are set aside by the government. So this is the reason we have FERPA. It's not really supposed to be something that prevents you from doing or accessing your records, but I'm going to say it will prevent your family from accessing your records. So in many countries, and even in the United States, parents are very involved in their children's education, right? I know that with my personal children, I'm checking their homework assignments. Did they do the assignments they needed to do? What did they get on their test? What is their final grade? And while they're under 18, that's totally my right as a parent in the United States. I can get access to my children's records. Once they turn the age of 18 in the US, now that individual has to give me permission. So as an international student coming to Snow College, whether you have reached the age of 18 or not, you are considered an adult, and the decision is no longer with your parents. Now it is your choice on who gets to see information and what information they get to see. So just so you're aware, and you can share this with your parents, this is not just Snow College making life hard. It's a federal rule that we have to follow. So we are doing it to protect you and to protect us. So we want to find a balance there. And I put this website on here. You can always go to the Snow website and just look up FERPA. That is available, but again, I encourage you, that's why we're doing this Q&A, okay? So there's two ways to establish your FERPA presence, okay? And that is the other thing I want to emphasize is, sorry, I'm gonna go, let's see if I can go back. Okay, it was created to protect you and your family. And so when it comes to emergency circumstances, that's where we really want you to help us in case there is an emergency and we need to contact someone, okay? And in case there is questions about a variety of things, and I'm going to show you what that looks like as well. But please understand, if we have any parents on here, we are doing it because all of us had to move out at some point and learn how to do things as an adult. And Snow College is really the best place for your student to come and do that, because we are going to provide them with the support that they need to be able to make good decisions. And it's a safe space so that if they make a bad decision, or maybe the choice they made has, they're struggling with, we're still here and we have enough contact with our students to really help them through those processes. Okay, so again, reminder, we aren't doing this to just be difficult. We are doing this to help both the parent and the student understand what our responsibility as an institution is, and to empower you to know how to get answers. So the first option, if you would like to just go and make the decision prior to admission or anything, if you go, and I have created screenshots on this, again, you're going to be able to see this. This will be part of a pre-arrival orientation we're going to send out here in the beginning of August. But if you go to snow.edu and you click in the top corner, you're going to select offices and then registrar. So in the United States system, and this may be the same in your country, Our registrar or our registration office is set up to be the one in charge of all school records. So once you're admitted, our registration office manages all of those. They manage all of your academic records, payment records. So all of that is kind of housed under registration. And so that's why FERPA, or this protection, is tied to our registration office. Registrar is the person who runs the registration office. That's the person whose main job is making sure that we are following all the laws that as a public school, we have to follow, okay? So they're going in and editing and spot checking and making sure that if there's updates to the laws that we are aware of that and we're updating our records and our policies to be in line with the U.S. Department of Education. I'm going to take a side note here also. In many countries, there is an established Minister of Education, and that government office manages all education through the country. Higher education, secondary, all of it. In the United States, that is not the way it works. We have the U.S. Department of Education that sets guidelines, but each individual state also gets to set their own guidelines. So ultimately, the U.S. Department of Education sets over a very broad, everyone in the country of the United States of America must follow these 5 rules, AKA privacy, right? That's one of them. But then the individual state gets to set our educational system, okay? So that is important because as you move from state to state, you may find at the higher education level, some states have a different number of requirements for a major than another state, okay? So I just like to cover that because the U.S. Department of Education is not it's not a government position like the Ministry of Education. They don't make the choices and then that goes down. Each state gets to make their own choices. So anyway, FERPA, you go to snow.edu, click in the right-hand menu, go to registrar. Then there are little tiles and you select the forms tile and click on student forms. And once you click there, I put the option up here, you would go to consent to release information or FERPA, okay? That is going to require you to log in using your Microsoft 360 login. Now, that is actually your my.snow.edu login, username at students.snow.edu. When you were admitted, you received an email that included an ID number and a username, because your name may be the same as someone else. So we will create a username that is specific to you. If you have not logged into your my.snow.edu portal yet, please do that. You will not be able to access this information unless you have done that. Okay. Ooh, sorry, that's my phone. I should silence that. All of our information that we're sending out to you is all, we try and hide it for your safety behind this login. And I want to talk about that. So there's something called personally identified, PII, which stands for personally identifiable information. So that is things like your date of birth, any government numbers, a passport number, your address, your phone number, your email. These are all things that identify you as the person that you are. In the United States, PII, this personally identifiable information, must be kept secure. And you hear about this all the time in the media. data breaches where someone hacked into a system and accessed all of the Yahoo accounts, right? Or Gmail accounts or a bank's information. Our job is to keep your personal information secure. The way that we do that is through this my.snow.edu portal, and we use Microsoft 360. So all of our systems that we use are run through that username and password that you set up when you're admitted. That includes, as students get admitted, your I-20. So previously, we've had this change recently, in fact, this week, where previously we were emailing out your I-20 attached to an email. That, in case you don't know, email is not secure, okay? Anyone can hack into your email and access it, but more important, something that was explained to us, and it's an easy way to explain to you. When you mail a package or a letter to someone, we know that it goes through. Sorry. It might go through 5 different postal stations, right? It goes from your town to the county or the state that you live in to another county or state, and then it gets delivered to that person. Email is similar. It bounces through servers. So when we send a document that it includes this personal information to you via email, every server that it stops at, it's as if the post office took that package or letter, opened it, made a copy for their record, boxed it back up, and then sent it to the next one. And the next place opens it, keeps a copy, and sends it on. Okay, so as your email with your I-20 bounces between 5 different servers across the U.S. to get to your Gmail account, every one of those servers keeps a copy. And if one of those servers is ever hacked, your information is now out and available. So again, we don't create these systems to make things more challenging. We are doing it because hackers are getting smarter. They're finding more ways in, and we're doing everything we can to protect you. Okay, so this is, I'm going to exit out of this and stop sharing. That is one way you can set it up to access your FERPA or to give your permissions. And what I want to show you now is what it looks like after you have gone in and given your permissions. Okay, so again, can you guys see my screen? Excellent. So this is my FERPA dashboard. The second option is if you just want to type in ferpa.snow.edu, that's how you get into it. And the very first time you are signing in to your my.snow.edu, you have to set a passphrase. It will not let you continue until you set a passphrase, okay? The reason is that is how important FERPA is. We must have that set up before we give you access to all of the things you need, again, so that we know we can keep this secure. So once you log into the FERPA portal, which again is accessed on if you were to click on FERPA, if you clicked on the link I showed you on my previous screen, it's going to take you in here. And because I have already logged in and I have my login, this is what it looks like. You can see right here that I have a security passphrase, right? So I've got it set down here. You all know my security passphrase now. So that's the passphrase I set up. And we talk about it again here. Something we want to say, do not use your your my.snow password as your passphrase. Make sure it's something that you want to be said out loud. Because it can be embarrassing if you put a phrase down there that, you know, can be offensive or something. And understand that as employees of Snow College, we will be looking at this if someone is trying to access your records. and the person trying to access that is going to be saying that phrase out loud, right? So if you want to put, it's something super easy. If you and your family have a word that you use, like, peaches, and you know that when someone says peaches, there's a family emergency, or you want to put the name of the first street you lived in or city where you're born. When that family member or sponsor contacts us, we will say, what is the passphrase? And if they don't give us the right phrase, we're not going to give them access. We're not going to be able to answer questions or say anything to them. If they give us the right phrase, then we know that that's you. They know that they have access to your records. Okay, so I wanted to point that out. I also like to point out this My Directory information. This is what people can see. Okay, so when I set this up so that when someone wants to look for me on the snow.edu directory, I have these rules there. They are not, because I'm not a student, my name's not going to appear on the dean's list, but I can make changes to this, right? I can make this confidential so that people cannot find me. And this is important if you feel like someone is following you, or you feel like your information has been compromised. If someone got a hold of your records and you want to protect yourself, you can always come in and make this private, make it confidential, okay? And then the last thing I want to point out is this share info with others. This is where you can come in and add a parent or a sponsor or a friend or someone that you're comfortable with as a delegate, okay? Once you add that person as a delegate, you get to choose what they can see. So for example, if you say, I'm going to put my mother and my father, or I'm going to put my sponsor on there, but my sponsor doesn't need to know what my grades are. They do need to know my billing because they're paying the bill, right? But I don't want them to know if I have any conduct records. So if I, got caught stealing or something happened. So you can set all of these information. You can set, and it gives you a list of what that is. I strongly recommend to students that you use this cautiously, okay? Parents will many times want to know about their child. That is great. We absolutely want to help. This is the best way to give us permission on what we can talk to your parents about. Many times I find that parents are paying for the schooling and they want to call and say, hey, my bank account didn't work and I need to change some information, or how much does my student owe because they added a class. If you have not signed up to give them access to finance and billing, we can't talk to them. We're going to say, I'm so sorry. Your student needs to come and talk to us and we'll talk to them directly. And then you have to pass that information on. But again, please be aware that if your parent comes and contacts us and says, I can't reach my child, they're not answering my phone calls, I haven't talked to them in 3 weeks, we are going to go and find you. But if we find out that, something happened and you haven't been going to class and you're failing all your classes, it's not our job to tell your parents, okay? That's your job. That's the important part of communicating. So if you are okay with us releasing all of that to your parents, say so. And then we can talk to your parents. But otherwise, my response will be, and this is everyone in our office, we will go and track down your child. And I will usually send an email that says, I spoke to your child. I can tell you that they are okay. They're having, and they will be in contact, right? And that's where I'm saying, hey, please call your parents. I know when my son was on the other side of the world, he lived in the Philippines for about 6 months. I wanted to know what he was doing. I wanted to know that he was okay. And if he didn't call me once a week, I started to worry. That's just the role of parents and sponsors and friends, is sometimes they just get worried, right? So this is important because if you don't set these up, this controls what we can and can't do. I wanted to show one other thing. So that is in relation to FERPA, okay? And I don't know how we're doing on questions. I can't see the chat box, but hopefully they're being managed. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is over on our website, we have, again, Snow College under offices, our public safety office. Every country has different ways to reach the police or in an emergency. This is where you find that information. In the U.S., it is 911. From any phone, whether you have service or not, I believe 911 will work for you. That gets you to emergencies. But this is also, a really great way for you to think of some things that maybe you haven't thought of. So, for example, a personal asset inventory log. Sometimes if you've ever rented apartments, you know that it's a good idea to know what's in your apartment just in case you get robbed or just in case there's a fire, right? So when you're living in the dorms, it's a good idea to fill this out, that you have a laptop or that you have, this TV in your apartment. Also, emergency alert signups. We do not have very many emergencies in Ephraim, okay? But that's not to say we won't have an earthquake, or the most common way I've seen it used is there are times when we get extreme weather, like a blizzard that comes through. And so Snow College will cancel classes because the snow is bad enough that teachers can't get here, or it's dangerous, we haven't been able to plow. We haven't tackled that yet. And so we will send out a text and a phone call by our emergency alert sign up. This is a really good thing for you to do. You don't get spammed with it. You don't get calls. We test it once a year, but that's a really good way for you to sign up in case there is an emergency. Okay. Whether that's weather related, or if there's an active shooter on campus, or during COVID, this was a really great way that we could reach out for pandemic related information. We could send out a text and say, please go see our website, for updates on fall semester or updates on classes. There are also some great videos on here. You can see all of our campus safety plan. You can report an injury or an accident, earthquake safety. Every area of the world has different natural disasters that might happen, mudslides, torrential rain, hurricanes, tornadoes. This is a really good way to see what is in our region, okay? So again, this is just a really good source of information, including active shooters. It's not something we like to talk about a lot, but it is a possibility, okay? So if an emergency happens, that video, it's about 10 minutes long. It's a really great way to anticipate what you will do. We train all of our faculty and staff on what to do in these kinds of circumstances, but this is a way so you can educate yourself. So I like to show this because I want students to know that there is information for you out there, okay? What to do, how to request a police report, what happens if there's a fire, right? So this is, again, just another great resource on our website that's available for you. So now I want to turn the time over to you. And if you raise your hand, I can unmute you, or you can put it in the chat and we can go from there for any questions you have about security or safety on campus, or just general questions. So I can see a question in there. I've already booked an apartment. When am I supposed to pay the deposit? So that is a great question. If you have reserved a dormitory room, you need to pay the deposit as soon as possible. It states right in the contract that your room is not guaranteed until we've received the deposit. That deposit is $250. $50 is non-refundable. We use that as like an application fee. At the end of the year, we go through and clean rooms, all of those things. The other 200, when you finish your contract, when you check out of the room and you say, I'm done living there, that 200 is refundable back to you. They will give you that money back when you move out, okay? Or when you finish your contract. So if you have made a reservation in the dormitories, we strongly recommend you pay that deposit as soon as possible. If you cannot access the payment screen, like the payment portal is not working at all, then what you can do is you can send funding through Flywire or Pay My Tuition. Those are two resources. You can send it by bank wire directly to Snow College, and any of us can send you that information if you need a reminder. Okay, and if you send funds through that, we will see them come, and then we will get it to the appropriate account. The best way is through the payment portal attached with your application. If you can't access it there, we want you to send it via Flywire or Pay My Tuition. Okay. Any other questions that I have maybe not seen, or if I missed something, Diana Noboe, I think, do you want to come off mute? There is, so that is when, sorry, someone just asked, is there a way to pay by Visa card? That is the payment portal, and it 100% depends on your country. For example, sometimes students in Colombia have a hard time making a payment with a Visa card, but students from Ecuador don't, or vice versa. It really depends on your individual country and their finance system. So that's why we say we want you to start in the application portal, right, where you filled out your application. Try that. If the payment will not go through, it's one of two things. Either there's not enough money in that account, right? So if you're using a debit card and there's not enough funding in there, and pay attention to conversion rates, because you might think, well, I put 400 Ghanaian cedis in there, but the conversion rate changed and now that's only equal to 175. That's something you have to watch, okay? So there's not enough funds in there, or our system won't recognize your country's cards. And that is something, it would be awesome if all finance industries and all the countries work together. But, oh, dang it, I did forget to caption it. Anyway, but it's not the way it goes, right? Every country does not play nice with another country. So it really is dependent on your individual country. That's why we provide other options. So things like Flywire or Pay My Tuition. And if you go to those resources, there is a Visa option and you can pay through Flywire, and then that money gets to us. Any other questions? And now is the chance. If we haven't talked about it, now is a chance for you to ask the questions about whatever you're curious. We know it's a big move coming here. So class registration has been a big question. We hear from a lot of students about registering for classes. That is a great thing to start. And the way I describe it is, if you have ever stopped to think which came first, the chicken or the egg, right? I don't know whether to tell you to register for classes before your visa or get your visa and then register for classes. I don't think there's one right answer, okay? My hope and our hope would be that if you are registered for classes and you have paid the enrollment deposit, that is one way to demonstrate to the embassy that, yes, you are serious and here's your plan, right? When they ask, what are you going to study there? You've already got all of your classes. But I do understand the concern that if you don't have your visa yet, you don't want to make the reservation, or you don't want to register for classes. And we do understand that. The longer you wait to register for classes, the less options you might have. So someone did ask, if I haven't been granted a visa, go ahead and reserve housing and make a payment. Again, it's the same thing. Yes, because you will have less choices the longer you wait. However, if you are denied your visa, you need to let us know, and we absolutely will work with you. Even if you have made that deposit, we work with the housing office to try and either get it refunded back to you or to move it to a future semester. So for example, if you reserve housing for fall semester and you do not get your visa, we can work with them to move that deposit to spring of 2025, and we can work with you to try again if that's what you want. But if you say, nope, I've found another school, I'm good, okay, tell us and we will get that funding back to you. So another question, please, with FERPA, can you add 2 people? Yes. Once you've added 1 person as a delegate, that add a new delegate will stay there. So the person that you added, actually, maybe I'll do that really fast. The person that you added will show up there, and then you will get the option. So we're going to add Buster Badger as my delegate. Okay, that is my father. That's the email address. Passphrase. Again, this goes, oh, well, it won't let, well, we're going to do this. This passphrase goes as, again, my passphrase. I'm going to have to change my passphrase now, by the way, but that's okay. And an expiration date. So I can say, I want my dad only to have access until December 31st. I just want him to have it for this semester. And I want him to be able to see my transcripts and my finances, but that's it. I'm going to save that. Great. Here's where you add a second delegate. And if you decide, hey, I no longer want my sponsor, my father, or my friend to have it, come in here, delete it. Are you sure you want to delete it? Yes. So this is 100% your opportunity to add and take people out. Okay, so that was an excellent question. Okay, so it looks like Deanna's talked about tuition. Tuition is due the first Friday after classes start. We are going to do another one of these Q&As specifically on tuition. Okay, someone did ask about the scholarship. So what that does, we do not have any cash value. If you have applied and been awarded one of our international student waivers, it reduces the cost of tuition. So for example, if our total tuition for the semester is $7,000 and you received a $5,000 per year scholarship, that semester will be reduced by half, or $2,500. So your total cost for tuition that semester would be $5,500, right? $4,500, sorry, my math. So that's not your total cost to be here, because on top of that tuition, you're going to have fees and maybe housing and insurance, things like that. But our scholarships are all tuition waivers. There's no cash value. You can't get a refund of our scholarships. So any other questions? We do have off-campus housing. You do not have to live on campus. We do have dorms. I like to tell students that it's a good idea because you do form a really good community when you're living in the dorms, because you've got your roommates and you've got everyone that lives in that building or in that hall. So it's a really good way to make friends, and they're very interactive. But if you're very independent, there's no issue with you going and choosing an off-campus apartment. Please understand that the contract is between you and the off-campus apartment. Snow College doesn't have any rights to intervene on your behalf. So another reason to live in the dorms, but you don't have to live in the dorms. Everything on campus is available or is within walking distance. So everything's really close in our town, in our community. Okay, where can I see the cost when the scholarship has been applied? That is a great question. I do wish we had Nate here today. I'm going to try. So I'm going to log into my snow.edu and let you guys see what I see. Okay, this is what snow.edu looks like. So last week, we went through and talked about each one of these little individual boxes. Okay, here's your email list. Here's things like I need to register for classes, right? Some of them are just generic ones the whole campus gets. Others are specific to you. Upcoming events, right? We're paying attention to when the last drop dates are for classes. As an employee, I have all of these. If I'm part of clubs, I can choose clubs. Financial aid is where you're going to go to look at scholarships, and it's going to redirect me, right? Again, because I have already created my login. When I went to my.snow.edu, I didn't have to log in because I was already there, right? So it connects that financial aid services to that login. And right here would be the offer of your scholarship. Okay, it's going to show me all of the information, how much I'm going to have, and here it would give me the option to accept my scholarship. It's important that you do accept your scholarship before you arrive, because that funding is going to go into your account 10 days before the start of the semester. So the question originally was, when can I see this, when the scholarship has been applied? You will see that it's accepted right here, okay? Then back on snow.edu, let's see, pay tuition and fees. So if I click on pay tuition and fees, click on that again, because I logged into my.snow.edu, it's automatically carrying that forward. You can see highlighted right here, pay tuition and fees. Sorry, it's so many clicks. I wish we could take it less, but it has to go through all these blocks. And then right here, our payment portal, make a payment. When I do this, again, same redirect, you guys are going to see I don't have a balance because I don't have classes. But right here, you can look at all of your different details. And when we talk about payment plans, we are going to show you what this looks like, what it looks like when your tuition is in there, when your housing is in there, all the different things, okay? There is, Deanna is so kind, so I'm going to stop sharing again. So again, my.snow.edu, really important that you get in here. It gives you access to your emails. Scholarships, sorry, that punched me back. Scholarships, it's important that you go in and you accept your scholarship. And then once you log into the portal, this is where you'll be able to see all of your totals, okay? And all these screens link together because we try and keep everything under the same login. Okay, so if you missed last week's Zoom call dealing with the my.snow.edu portal, Deanna has put that in the chat as well as the password. So you're welcome to click on that and watch it. It takes about an hour. We did the same thing, about half hour of specific information and then half hour of Q&A. Okay, we will have our next session on June 21st, and we are specifically doing that in Spanish. We are doing that so that if your parents would like to attend, and let's say they don't speak English because you are from Central and Latin America, that's our biggest population right now. And so that's why we're specifically addressing the need for Spanish. If you speak another language and we need to do a Zoom in your language, please email us at international@snow.edu and let us know, because we can explain. We have access to other languages on campus, whether that's through our student ambassadors or here in our office. We have access to Japanese here, and then much Spanish, and then we have access to French through some of our faculty members, and Italian. So we will do everything we can to kind of help you with that. So our next two sessions, we're going to be going over the same things: student accounts in Spanish, and then the next week we're going to do FERPA in Spanish. We will do the same thing again in July. We'll send out an email with a list of all of the questions and answers we're going to Q&As we're going to do in July. Right now, we are planning to do them in English one week and then in Spanish later in the month. Again, if you need help in a different language, please let us know so that we can try and accommodate as much as we can. Follow us on social media. Instagram. We do have Facebook, although I know that's a little bit more dated. So follow us on Instagram. That is a really great resource for you to be able to see what's currently happening, activities that we have. You can even just start to get an idea of what activities, like we are hosting a lake party next week. We're taking the students that are here this summer. We're going to go to a lake and do a barbecue. And those are the kind of activities we're going to have when you join us. We are so excited. I'm going to wrap this up because it doesn't look like we have a lot of other questions. We are so excited for you to come and be on Snow Campus. We understand that it takes a lot of bravery to leave your country and start a new chapter. We are here to help you in any way that we can and to give you the resources to be as successful as you can. We will be sending out more information about airport arrivals. You can find that on our website. There's a next steps section that gives you our arrival dates, orientation dates, as well as how to find the academic calendar. So all of these are good things if you're looking at purchasing your flights. And so watch your email. We will be sending out more messages. We are excited to have you here. It's going to be fantastic. There's a lot of things that will be different, but you're going to find a lot of things will be the same. And we have a great amount of international students who are just excited to meet you. And we are so blessed to have you. So thank you so much for joining us today, and enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and tune in next week. We'll be doing the same session on student information or your student portal next week in Spanish. So please share this with your friends, share it with your parents, invite them to join us. We are happy to answer any questions that they may have or that you may have. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great night.